Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin. I'll show you an hourly pattern that is showing signs of a potential bottom and what buyers have to do to confirm that pattern. Now, before we get started, guys, if you are enjoying the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon to get notifications because I am releasing these videos every day, Monday through Friday. All right, so the Bitcoin daily time frame, we talked about this morning, guys. Yes, 2 videos in one day, but today I want to show you an hourly pattern. Okay, so we're going to look at something on the hourly chart, but before we do, I do want to address something because I have been criticized by a few people, not a lot, but a few people have said that I'm not covering the bearish scenario enough. Now, I do try to cover an invalidation point in these charts. Okay, so for example, this morning, I said that a close below 35,000 would send Bitcoin likely down toward $30,000. So that would kind of invalidate any kind of bullish scenario. And furthermore, guys, the reason I focus more on the bullish side of things is simply because Bitcoin is at a critical support area. I am not going to get bearish while the market is trading in this area between $35,000 and $37,000. It was the same back here. As many of you know, I was buying Bitcoin between 42 all the way down toward 35, and that's simply because of this massive support area down here around 35,000. So same rules apply, guys. Bitcoin is still holding above support. Yes, I realize that the charts don't look great. The fundamental picture has a lot of obstacles ahead, to say the least. But the fact is that the market is still above support. And so as long as that's the case, I am not going to get bearish. Now, at the same time, okay, if we look at the last 14 months, where Bitcoin has traded, then it is trading closer to a long-term support than resistance. So what I mean by that is if we look at this range where Bitcoin has traded, okay, over the past 14 months. So this top up here between 60 and 70,000, and we have the bottom of this range down around 30. So right now with Bitcoin trading at 38, it is technically closer to $30,000 support than it is to this area up around $60,000 to $70,000. So right now, asymmetry, guys, if you're looking for asymmetry, it is pointed higher, okay? Meaning that it has a lot more room to run higher than it does down here toward support down here at 30,000. So even if we were to see Bitcoin close below 35, guys, this is not something where I would short or even really get bearish just because, yes, you could make some money down here, okay? But it becomes a risky endeavor. You're playing with fire at that point, because this area down here is such a strong support level and nothing says that Bitcoin is going to test 30,000 on the dot. Okay, even if it broke below this area, it could bounce from 33,000, it could bounce from 32, 31. But the point here is that as long as we're above the support area down here and there's more room to move higher than there is to move lower, then I'm going to focus more on those bullish scenarios just because that's where the asymmetry lies. Okay, so with that said, guys, I want to go ahead and talk about the hourly chart today. So just to kind of clarify, I always try to talk about an invalidation point in the chart. For me, that's 35,000. Daily close below that, we're likely headed toward 30,000. But as long as we're above 35 to 37, then Bitcoin is technically above support. Okay, so with all that said, guys, let's take a look at this hourly pattern. So I mentioned this on Twitter a few hours ago, but I did want to talk about it just because this is one of the cleanest descending broadening wedges that I've seen for quite some time. Now, it is the hourly chart. It's not the 4-hour or even the daily chart. So it is a little bit more speculative. The lower you go in time frames, the more speculative a pattern becomes. But guys, having said that, okay, if we look here, you can see where this upper level touches off of several highs over the past few days. Same thing down here, okay, support right off of today's low, right at 37,200, which also was the top of that descending channel. Remember that Bitcoin tested the top of this channel from the November high. So we have this channel up here where we had the breakout. Bitcoin has formed a rounded retest and it tested 37,200 support today. And that level, again, also lines up with the bottom of this wedge pattern. So I wanted to bring this to your attention because patterns like this, especially after a sell-off like we've seen, not just over the past few days, but even over the past few weeks and months, typically tends to trigger a reversal, bullish reversal. Okay, so this is a bullish pattern, typically speaking. Now, obviously a close below this area down here would negate this idea. Okay, so if we saw Bitcoin give up this area down here, right around the high 36s, and of course the $35,000 level like I've talked about before, if we were to see Bitcoin give up this zone, then this whole thing is off the table. And like I've said, we're probably headed back toward 30,000. But overall, guys, this pattern does hint at exhaustion from sellers. Okay, so a broadening descending wedge like this, it's very similar to a falling wedge where it signals exhaustion from sellers. So the confirmation for this pattern would be a close above this area up here. So get above this trend line on the hourly. So at the moment that would come in somewhere right around low 39,000s. And then also 39,600. Remember, that's going to be a key level going forward to where we need to see Bitcoin close the day above 39.6. All right. And the reason for that is if you look back here, we have a low back here at 39.6, another one right here, and then some highs through this area. So yesterday was the weekly close for Bitcoin. It closed below 39,600. So in order to confirm this wedge pattern, I would like to see Bitcoin get above this resistance area up here on the hourly, and then also get above 39,600 on the daily time frame. So that means close the day above this area, and then I do think we get that breakout. Now, of course, we could see another rotation lower, in which case this area right below 37,000 is going to be support. Now, one last thing too, I want to bring up the RSI because it does show or support the idea that sellers could be becoming exhausted. If we look at the RSI here on the hourly chart, you can see that so far, these lows back here were pretty close to being equal. This one was a little bit higher than the last one. So very slight bullish divergence. But then lately, we have had the RSI putting in a potential higher low while the market made a lower low this morning. So we do have early signs of some bullish divergence on the RSI. Okay, but like I always say, guys, indicators are secondhand. They take a backseat to the actual price action. So really for Bitcoin, it needs to get above this area up here. Basically close the day above 39,600, and we are looking at that move back toward 42 and potentially up toward 46 and $50,000. And obviously if it fails, then we're looking at a move back toward 30,000, but only if Bitcoin closes the day below $35,000. All right, guys. So, right now, between this support area down here and what the RSI is doing, there is a decent chance that we get a bounce here. Just keep in mind that right now, the technical landscape, even the fundamental landscape, nothing really looks pretty at the moment. Okay, everything is kind of pointing to lower prices. However, at the same time, that could be an indication that we are nearing a bottom because peak fear usually brings about a low for a market. And a lot of times, I know it sounds contradictory, but a lot of times you get bad news at the lows. And we've seen no shortage of bad news over the past few days. So, look, is Bitcoin going to bounce from here? We're just going to have to wait and see. But I do think if it closes above 39,600, that is going to be a very good indication that we are going to get that move higher. And if it doesn't and it closes below 35,000, you guys know the drill. We're probably looking at a move down toward $30,000. But it is going to be very interesting, guys, to see how this hourly descending broadening wedge plays out over the coming days. All right, so this is going to be one to watch. Again, it is one of the cleaner patterns that I've seen. And I do think that it does hint at some exhaustion from sellers. Now, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin is going to break out of this and just shoot straight back to $50,000 or $60,000. We could just get a move from this maybe back toward 42, and then we move lower from there. But I do think that something like this gives us some kind of context to look at this market and say, okay, if we get above this trend line up here, then there is some hope for buyers. If we get above 39,600, then I do think this latest move we've seen today, okay, is a false break. And then we get that push higher up toward 42 and probably back toward 46,000. All right, guys, so that's it. I know it was a lot to cover, 2 videos in one day, but I do hope that they helped you. And if they did, be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon to get notifications, smash that like button, and leave your comment below. And I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.